So we are going to start here at Google, already signed in, and I'm going to access slides from the waffle. So I'm going to click on the waffle in the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to come down and select slides. And we're going to see the initial slide screen, that is start a new presentation bar. It does have a science project template here, and it has a variety of other templates. I would encourage students to examine the template gallery and see if there is one that they would like to use. Google regularly updates templates, and there are going to be other templates that are available with a search if students are interested in finding something that's been designed by someone else. You can also see then the list of most recently opened slides presentations. For our purposes today, we're going to open a blank presentation to take a look at some of the most commonly used tools. And so here is the initial blank title slide. The first thing that I encourage everyone to do with a presentation is to title the presentation. It is very easy for anyone who is using Google Slides to accumulate a large number of untitled presentations, documents, and other forms of Google data. So it is imperative that students or anyone you are using slides with title their slides as soon as possible. If you notice to the right, there is again an option to choose a theme if you want to pick something that is going to be consistent and allow a student to kind of avoid the layers of choices that come from making choice upon choice upon choice in artistic ways. Sometimes students get excited or enthusiastic about the number of fonts that they have, about the number of color options, and the consistency of a presentation and the value of a presentation can be reduced because of that. A student who wants to create their own unique background and theme can use these selections, background, and can select a different colored background for their slides. And they can add that to a theme if they are interested in doing so. They can also choose an image to use as a background. So it will take us to Google Images, and I will be able to say either upload an image, use my camera to take an image, I can insert the URL for an image, I can search Google Photos, I can take something off my Google Drive, or for our purposes, I'm going to do a Google image search. And so I'm going to search for images, and let's search for images on density research. That is not an original topic. That is the topic that the slideshow for science project, in fact, is themed on. So I'm just going to, let's just pick some kind of density map here. And as you can see, it will bring that image in to the background if you want to use that. Now, a student may then, of course, want to contrast the image color text background, turn the text white. That's done by adding some text. So let's add the title of the slide. Actually, let me go ahead and highlight that text. Then let's change the color to a light gray so that it is easier to read. My title subtitle will be here. And I'm going to also change that font color to be something that shows better against the background. We'll make that just white. And then let's say, for the sake of argument, we have a student who is putting in a quotation. And so we want to use the subtitle as an introductory quote by someone. So let's just rewrite this here. as a, and because it's a quote by an interesting person, I'm going to want to reference that. I'm going to need to add a citation for that. Now, if we want to do that on a slide-by-slide basis, students need to know how to be able to easily insert a text box in a slide and how to make that into a size that would be appropriate for receiving a pasted citation from a Google document. So let's say I want to insert a text box. I'm going to select text box. Then I'm going to come down here where we would put a referenced text box. And I'm going to draw that box in about where I would want it to be. So there it goes. And now if I click in this box, I will be able to enter some text that would be a reference or citation. And then I'm going to, of course, as we've done with the rest of this, I'm going to highlight the text. I'm going to choose the text color. I'm going to make the text color readable on my background. These are all things that a student will want to be able to do in order to make their presentation as consistent and presentable as possible. Now, this kind of text box creation is a very basic function. It's something that most students may not have done with regard to creating an original text box themselves. They will have used the text boxes that are on the original slides. They will have even moved or manipulated or sized those maybe. But the ability to introduce a new text box to the slide that will hold citations for them and allow them to use the rest of the slide as it was already formatted can be useful to show students. Now that we've got a title and a subtitle on the slide, let's take a look at a few other options that we will want to be aware of. We can select a text box and bring up some format options for it by choosing format options if it does not automatically come up when you select the box. You can select options for the size and rotation, that is to flip or to rotate the text that's in the box. You can set some position variables. Where do you want the text to appear in the box, centered, upper right, etc. You can fit that text inside the box with regard to indentation and wrapping around inside the box and that sort of behavior. You can add a drop shadow or other visual enhancement in order to get some additional contrast between the letter and the background. And there are some reflection options that are available. You can see the reflection appearing here. I'm going to turn the reflection off for our purposes for demonstration today. So there we have the basic title slide, some simple tips for adding a citation box, for adding a little bit of contrast to the text for someone who is designing their own theme. We've seen some of the basics of slide creation, but before we go any further, let's take a look at the slide file menu. So across the top, we have File, Edit, View, Insert, Format, Slide, Arrange, Tools, Add-ons, and a Help menu. And then, of course, it'll tell you when your last edit was. That's a default feature of slides. Let's take a look at some of the options under each one. I'm not going to go into each one of these, but there are a few that we are going to want to take a look at before we're finished. One of those is Publish to Web, because it will give us the ability to embed the presentation in a website, and students may be using a website as part of their final project presentation. Additionally, we can do some language translation and that sort of thing here, which may be useful for some of our students. If we come look at the edit menu, it is a very predictable edit menu, very much the same thing you would find in any other application. View is going to give you some view options with regards to motion that may be built into the slide. It will also pull up a sidebar that will let you see your theme builder in the same way that we're seeing format options over here. Let me go ahead and close that out of the way. And then we can show speaker notes, and you can see our speaker notes are down here in the bottom. If students want to add any notes to themselves that they want to make sure that they reference, or any additional information that they want to remember to put on the slide, the speaker notes space is a great place to put that information. It will also let you see ruler guides if you want to see those kinds of things, and it will allow you to turn off and on snap to, whether it's guides or grids. Those are just tools to help align objects that you place on the slide. The insert menu is going to be useful to us because we're going to look at how we can use images, videos, diagrams, at the very least, in order to enhance our presentation. Students will want to or be able to dig into each of these in as much depth as they are interested in exploring, to make their presentation as much their own as they wish. When we look at format, these are the same text formatting options that we see in most of our word processors. Students may or may not recognize the formatting brush as a tool that they can use to, once they have selected a style of text, pick up that format and move it around to other text that is on the page. When we go to slide, we can take a look at new slide, duplicating slides, deleting slides. We can have slides in the show that we actually skip, that we can tag to not present when we play. I don't encourage students to dig into anything like that. This is also where we can change our backdrop if we decide we found an image that we like better, and we can apply a layout. And we'll explore layouts in a minute when we take a look at new slides. Arrangements are based very much like art programs, so I can send things to the back, I can pull things in front. It would allow me to stack images and text in a way that I had whatever I wanted to be on top appearing the way that I wanted it to. Tools are some of the default spelling tools that are built in. There's dictionaries, there are some Q&As and histories. There's even an option for voice typing speaker notes if you are interested in doing that. Help is predictably help, and that gives us at least the basic across the menu tour of the options that students will have if you've never looked at those particular options in any detail before. Of course, the iconography is typical for most Windows applications with regards to the sizing of fonts and bulleting of lists and centering lines and those kind of things. Those are typically familiar to students. And so next we will go through the process of creating a new slide and seeing what that looks like. Let's take a look at creating a new slide. We click on the plus and we will get a new slide option that brings in a title and text slide by default. And for this part of the exploration of slides, that'll work just fine. So I'm going to title my slide here. And then in place of the text box, let's take a look at how we would insert an image into a slide. So I'm going to click to select the text box first, and then I'm going to hit my delete key on my keyboard. That's going to delete the text box. And I'm going to choose to insert an image. And there are options here to upload from computer, go to Drive, Photos by URL, take a picture from the camera that's on the computer. But I want to show how students can search the web for images that they want to use. The sidebar on the side here is going to allow us to search. So let's do a search for a research lab and see what Google will find for us. Let's pick research laboratory. And so here we have an image. Here's a nice research lab image. Notice when I click the image, it gets the blue check mark. It tells me down here at the bottom that I have one selected, and I can choose to insert that image. And so it will bring the image over, and here it sizes the image. As long as I'm looking at the crosshair there, the plus sign, I can move the image wherever I would like. If I grab a corner, the image will size proportionally, so I can size that image the way that I would like. I can move my text box a little bit out of the way, so I can get a larger version of the image there. And that is how easy it can be for a student to be able to add an image to their slide. Now, our students should be acquiring a bank of images that are appropriate for their research project, and should more often than searching, although searching is a handy trick, they should most likely be accessing from their Google Drives the images. But the process would be the same. They would go to their Google Drive, they would go to the folder that they had created and been storing images in. They would select the image that they had saved for use in this particular slideshow. So that's how that process would go for them if they wanted to use it in Google. Now we're going to create another slide, but this time I'm going to select the down arrow, new slide with layout, and it will give me the ability to select from a series of pre-formatted slides. So if I have a table that are going to be comparisons, I can do that. If I know that all I'm going to put on the screen is a large number, students have some big result that they want to share at the end of their research section, they're able to pick slides that are formatted in particular ways. Now, for our next slide, I'm going to select a blank layout. So it is just a nice clean slide. I don't have any boxes to delete before I go to insert my next element. And for this case, we're going to say we want to insert a video. Now, students may be inserting a video that they have created or that demonstrates some portion of their research, or that is an interview if it is a social studies kind of research project. And so they will be creating their video product and uploading it to their YouTube channel on their own. The search box will make it particularly easy for them to find their video based on the name that they assigned when they created it. Now, in this case, I'm going to, once again, just do a search for a research lab. Let's do a search for research lab and see if I can't find an easy video. So how to get experience in a work lab will work just fine for our purposes. I'm going to select that video, and it will bring it immediately into the presentation. It will drop it on the slide. It will allow me to size it as I wish, place it where I want to on the screen. And then I can do what I would like to for text or titling around this video, or I can leave the video to just display. If you look over here on the side, we get some video options for playback. I can choose to play it on click. I can choose to set it to play automatically. And so, or I can play it manually, put the actual play bar on the slide itself and work it that way. So, there are options for a student to play with regards to the videos that are here, and they will want to explore that so that, once again, they have an option to customize and get their presentation exactly the way they want it. Next, let's take a look at creating a blank slide once again, but this time with the goal of inserting a diagram. When we choose Insert Diagram, we'll again see a pop-up on the right-hand side of the screen that will give us a number of options, and any of these could be used by a student, and so I want to look at each of them in order to see what they look and feel like. So let's say first I'm going to insert a grid on this slide. I am able to pick how many levels of grid I'd like. I am given a number of different grid styles to lay data out in. And so a student has an opportunity to pick a format and then immediately come over and edit the information. The boxes are already laid out. It is particularly easy to come in and make the changes that make the data that the student has collected most visually appealing way possible. Let's go ahead and take a look at creating another blank slide, and we will take a look at the next kind of diagram, which is a hierarchy. You can see the way the different hierarchies are laid out, and so I can choose kind of descending tree style, any of these hierarchies that are appropriate for the students' display data. I'm going to stick with the ones that have a blue theme. And let's take a look next at what another diagram type looks like. Again, a fresh blank slide. I'm going to come this time to a timeline. Perhaps a student's going to use a timeline to demonstrate some previous research. Perhaps they're going to illustrate the complexity of their research and overlapping tasks and when things had to be done. And so they're going to use a more complex form. Next, we'll go back and take a look at another blank slide. This time, instead of timelines, we'll take a look at the process options. Again, it looks sequenced 1, 2, 3. We have the option to choose whether if it's a cyclical, if it's a refined process. We can choose the image or grouping that works best for our particular data set or what we're trying to present. Let's take a look at their next type of diagram that we have available, which is relationships. Here I can see different kinds of Venn diagrams and other relationship type diagrams that I can use, modify to represent what my data needs to represent. Again, these are things that not every student is going to use. Certainly, not every student needs to use them in every presentation, but we should be aware so that we can point them out to students, what they are, where they're accessible, how they are edited and modified by selecting the different sections, editing the text, changing the rotations, and affecting the other variables that we can in order to customize the appearance of a particular slide. So these are all tools that students may be aware of or may not be aware of, having used only templates created by other people before and never having really needed to come in and customize the exact presentations themselves. Creating one last slide, we want to come back and take a look at what we've done so far. We've created a title slide. We've taken a look at some of the text formatting. We've looked at how we can select different types of formats from the slides and how even after a particular format has been selected, we still have the options to highlight and move and modify the selected formats. We've inserted images, we've inserted videos, we've inserted different kinds of diagrams and taken a look at how to select and edit the text or various graphics that are in the different kinds of diagrams. We've looked at how students can see which are the best diagram forms for presenting their data. And at this point, I'd like to thank you for taking the time that it has taken to run through this brief introduction to Google Slides for use with students and research projects. And I want to wish you all a great day.